I stared at my laptop, rereading the group chat messages I was never supposed to see. Someone, most likely Jonah's assistant, who'd always had a quiet conscience, had forwarded the screenshots to my anonymous inbox. Jonah, meeting at 10 a.m. tomorrow to finalize the TechSpire acquisition. Order him 2A. Marla, should we include Emily? Marla. She's not really family. Jonah. Exactly. She'll just overcomplicate it again. Remember that nonsense she pitched about equity sharing? Marla, she seriously thinks this is a co-op or something. It's embarrassing. I lowered the screen, my jaw tightening in silence. The irony was almost laughable. Because I was reading their texts from my private office on the 52nd floor of Everlyn Labs Tower in downtown Seattle. As its founder, lead engineer, and majority stakeholder. For nearly 5 years, I'd operated under the radar, building one of the Pacific Northwest's most disruptive biotech automation firms. Journalists called me a silent storm. VCs called me visionary. My stepfamily? They still called me naive. They had no idea. It all started when I was 17. My mother married Patrick Whitman, a wealthy biomedical consultant with 2 kids from his first marriage, Jonah and Marla. They were sleek, connected, already halfway through Ivy League pipelines. I was the tag-along, the afterthought. Patrick once told me I had the perfect demeanor for support staff, said it kindly, like I should be grateful. But while Jonah schmoozed executives and Marla hopped continents under the guise of innovation tours, I waited tables and taught myself neural systems engineering through late-night courses and open-source labs. That equity pitch they mocked? That was the last time I tried to help Whitman Biotech. They laughed me out of the room. Just once. 2 months later, I launched Everlyn Labs. Today, they're finalizing a deal to sell their failing company. Fear me. And they still have no idea who's behind it. Not yet. The vision I'd nurtured, AI systems that optimized biotech for people, not just profits, became the core of Everlyn Labs. Within the first year, we landed the Cascade Med contract that Whitman Biotech had counted on for expansion. Within 3 years, we were their top competitor. And now, after a series of quiet buyouts and cleverly masked investor takeovers, I was about to do what once seemed impossible: acquire Whitman Biotech outright. Their empire was collapsing. Years of nepotistic leadership, reckless spending, and tone-deaf public campaigns had shredded their value. Major contracts were bailing, their board was panicking. Then came Everlyn Labs with a lifeline, a buyout offer so clean, so generous they could barely believe their luck. The only mystery? The elusive CEO, known only as E. Ray, insisted all communication go through legal counsel. Jonah and Marla never questioned it. They assumed some reclusive billionaire wanted a legacy buy. They had no idea. My screen blinked. Meeting, remember, Whitman Biotech Emergency Board vote, 3:00 p.m. I had requested that time weeks ago, right when I saw Jonah and Marla block it off for their secret pitch to Everlyn's Go CEO. They thought they were about to dazzle a new investor. They were about to meet their new employer. I reached into my desk drawer and pulled out a faded photo. Me at 17, standing beside my mom on a rainy afternoon at Green Lake. She passed a year later. Patrick married within 6 months, and Angela erased my mother's name from the firm's history the same week. "You're not a child anymore," she said coldly. "You'll have to build your own future." So I did. And now I was buying the company she stole. I tapped my earpiece. "Nadia, are we ready?" "Yes, Miss Kim," she replied smoothly. "Legal is standing by, the board just needs to sign. And Jonah and Marla still think E. Ray is some retired MIT robotics guru." I smirked. They'd been enchanted by the fake Wired profile we planted last fall. An aging recluse with a mysterious past and deep funding ties. Their exact image of tech royalty. "Perfect," I said. "Make sure the boardroom feed is recording. I want everything on file." Then I stepped into the private restroom. The woman in the mirror barely resembled the teenager they used to mock. Chin lifted, tailored navy blazer, smooth hair, clear eyes, quiet power. Let's show them who I really am. The last touch, thin, understated glasses, I didn't need them, but they added just enough distance to mask familiarity. To anyone who hadn't seen me since I was 17, I'd look like a composed, sharp executive. Mrs. Kim? Nadia's voice returned via the intercom. The Whitmans are here. Boardroom 2C. And the camera? Live feed's running, would you like the link? I opened the stream on my laptop. Jonah and Marla Whitman. Still arrogant, still dressed like Texaclub influencers who just stepped off a private jet. Jonah was whispering something, showing Marla his phone. She rolled her eyes, then laughed, shrill and rehearsed. Can you believe Emily applied here? He said. As a systems analyst, like Everlyn would even read that. Marla scoffed. Seattle Community College? Sad. I heard she's working for some garage startup in Redmond. Tragic. Didn't react? I wanted to hear that. Because that resume, it was mine. A controlled leak. A manipulated LinkedIn trail, all bait. They thought I wanted a seat at their table. They didn't realize I owned the building. 2:25 p.m. Almost showtime. Before I opened that boardroom door, I took one last breath, because what happened next changed everything. Don't miss what comes next. Subscribe to the channel so you're the first to witness the reveal. Nadia, I said into the mic, please let the Whitmans know the meeting will begin a few minutes early, and when you announce me, refer to me as Miss Ray. I rose, smoothing the lapels of my jet black blazer and collecting the final acquisition documents. 17 years of being dismissed, of being called irrelevant, dramatic, or just the daughter of the first wife. Years of watching them squander opportunities they didn't earn. It all led to this room, this exact moment. I thought of my mom, how her eyes lit up when I built my first neural interface model at 14, how she whispered that real legacy wasn't passed down. It was built, brick by brick, by those who were never invited. Ready when you are, Ms. Ray? Nadia's voice returned, steady and loyal. One last glance in the mirror, glasses adjusted, shoulders squared. Then I walked toward boardroom 2C. Each tap of my heels echoed like justice across the polished stone. Through the glass, I saw Jonah and Marla, still relaxed, still smug, still certain the world owed them a crown. Nadia waited at the door, calm, collected. My first hire at Everlyn Labs. One of the only people who knew everything. Shall I announce you? She asked. I nodded. Let's begin. If you're ready to witness the moment truth shatters legacy, make sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next. I inhaled once, steadying my breath, as years of exclusion hardened into power. Nadia opened the door, her voice crisp and clear. Mr. and Miss Whitman, allow me to introduce E. Ray, CEO of Everlyn Labs. I stepped into boardroom 2C. Jonah and Marla turned, expecting someone else. Their faces shifted, polite, then puzzled, then pale. Hello, Jonah. Marla? I smiled, channeling Angela's signature ice. Shall we talk about the future of Whitman Biotech? The silence was exquisite. I counted 12 seconds before Jonah's mouth dropped open in disbelief. Emily, Marla gasped. Is this a joke? I calmly placed my folders at the head of the table, the chair that once belonged to their father, Patrick. No joke, I said, smiling ever so slightly, although your earlier commentary on my resume was genuinely amusing. Jonah finally found his voice, but it wavered beneath the weight of the truth. You can't be E. Ray. You're just a disappointment? I offered, lifting one brow. No, just someone who worked, while you two burned through every dime of credibility you inherited. I opened the top folder with care. Now, the terms. Everlyn Labs will acquire Whitman Biotech for $2.4 billion, 0 cents. Select departments will merge, executive roles will be restructured. Effective immediately. Marla slammed her palm on the table, the sound of her stacked bracelets cracking through the silence. You lied to everyone. You faked your entire identity. No, I replied calmly. I protected my vision. I built something real, something earned. I held her gaze. She was the first to look away. Style isn't substance, Marla. And in this room, substance wins. Jonah's fists tightened. Angela's gonna hear about this. The board already approved the deal, I cut in. Yes, including Angela. She just didn't know whose name was behind the offer. I let the silence hang, then added with a quiet smile. I look forward to seeing her face, too. I could practically hear the mental scrambling, the desperate mental math. They knew. They'd already lost. What do you want from us? Marla finally asked, voice brittle. Want? I leaned back, fully composed. I already have it. Authority, control, light. And then, I opened the next folder. Now, let's discuss your severance options. Although, I added smoothly, there are a few staffing adjustments I'd like to propose. Jonah's face drained of all color. You're firing us? Not exactly. I slid 2 prepared folders across the glass table. I'm offering roles more in line with your actual strengths. Jonah, you'll transition to Assistant Manager of Client Support. Marla, Junior Operations Coordinator. Salary reductions, naturally, but you'll both qualify for the employee development and mental wellness programs you once mocked. Marla's mouth dropped open. You can't be serious. We're not accepting that. That's entirely up to you, I said evenly. You're welcome to pursue work elsewhere. Just remember, your non-compete clauses remain binding. And with Whitman Biotech no longer a standalone entity, options will be tight. Jonah leaned back in his chair, eyes distant. You've been orchestrating this for years, haven't you? Not orchestrating, I said, slipping the final folder into my bag. Building. While you coasted, I created something that lasts. I'm offering you something I never got, a second chance, even if it's earned the hard way. I stood and adjusted my jacket. You have until 9 a.m. tomorrow, except an HR will begin onboarding. Decline, and security will handle your exit. I turned toward the door, but Marla's voice cracked behind me. Wait, what about Angela? What are you planning to do to her? I paused, hand on the handle. Angela made her choices 15 years ago, I said without looking back. Now she'll live with the result. I glanced over my shoulder, expression unreadable. And something tells me, she's watching already. Oh, and don't bother warning her, I added calmly. She's already in a board meeting, one where she's about to meet E-Ray for the very first time. The second meeting of the day was already underway, held in the grand executive suite atop the Everland Tower with sweeping views of Elliott Bay. I could see Angela through the glass, poised, immaculate, her signature pearl earrings in place, posture rigid and proud, ready to dazzle whatever old money CEO she imagined was behind the acquisition. Nadia stood by the door. They're ready for you, Miss Ray. Should I announce you? No, I said softly, a slow smile forming. I think I'll handle this one personally. I pushed open the door and watched as Angela Whitman's sculpted confidence cracked for the first time in years. Good afternoon, I said to the room. But my eyes never left hers. I'm E-Ray, CEO of Everland Labs, though some of you may remember me as Emily Kim. The room went still. Angela's hand twitched on her notepad, just enough for me to see. What followed was a masterclass in corporate reclamation. I presented Everland's plan for Whitman Biotech, full modernization, ethical restructuring, equity-first leadership, and sweeping reforms to dismantle the hierarchy Angela had spent years embedding. Angela sat frozen, jaw tight, eyes unblinking, as I unwound her empire with precision. The moment the meeting ended, she tried to vanish behind the board members, the way she always did when control slipped. But I stepped forward. Angela, my voice stopped her cold. She turned slowly, and for the first time in 15 years, I saw it. Not rage, not arrogance, fear. Oh, she asked quietly. How did I build Everland Labs? I leaned against the edge of the table. How did I buy the company you once told me I'd never belong to? The same way anything worth having is built, by working for it. While you closed doors, I created new ones. Angela said nothing. This isn't revenge, Angela, it's justice. It's proof that success isn't inherited, it's earned, with resilience, intention, and the courage to value substance over status. She winced, just slightly, a fracture in the porcelain. To what now? She asked, her voice brittle. You dismantle everything? No, I rebuild it. Whitman Biotech will now operate as a division of Everlyn Labs, focused on ethical biotech and community-centered innovation. Your name won't disappear, but it will change. She swallowed. Me. You'll retain a board seat, I said. But as a minority shareholder, your influence will be tempered. I smiled. Call it a lesson in perspective. She turned to leave, stiff but quiet. Oh, and Angela? I said, pausing as she reached the door. Sunday dinner? I believe I will be attending after all. The weeks that followed swept through like a silent storm. Jonah and Marla accepted their reduced roles, begrudgingly at first, but slowly they began to listen, to learn. About accountability, about the weight of real work. Angela remained quiet in meetings, but sometimes she looked at me with something unfamiliar. Not hate, not scorn. Maybe respect? The press called it a revenge story. But for me, it was restoration. The real victory wasn't the acquisition. It was the transformation of a company, a culture, a legacy. For the first time in years, the employees of Whitman Biotech felt seen, heard, empowered. That was the legacy I wanted. Innovation, integrity, impact. The company, once known for inherited privilege, had transformed into a model of inclusive, purpose-driven leadership. 1 year after the acquisition, I sat in my corner office overlooking the Seattle skyline, scanning Everlyn Labs' latest quarterly report. Whitman Biotech, now a subsidiary of Everlyn, had posted a 42% profit increase, not because of ruthless cuts or hollow branding, but because of the employee-first biotech platforms I'd started sketching on a cafe napkin 5 years ago. And to my quiet surprise, Jonah was thriving. Once he learned how to truly listen, not dominate, he discovered he brought more to the table than just a last name. Marla, too, had grown into her role. With structure and accountability, she uncovered a discipline and insight even she hadn't believed possible. There was a knock. Miss Kim, your step-siblings are here for their quarterly review, Nadia said. I nodded, eyes briefly drifting to the horizon. The view had changed. We all had. Send them in. Jonah and Marla walked in, no flashy watches, no forced charm. Just quiet professionalism and earned humility. Please, sit. I gestured to the chairs opposite mine. Let's talk about your progress. As we moved through their development plans, my mind flickered to my mother. She used to tell me that success wasn't about silencing others, it was about becoming someone worth listening to. I hadn't taken over Whitman Biotech to crush them. I did it to reveal a deeper truth. That merit, not bloodline, defines legacy. And maybe, by rebuilding what they nearly destroyed, we all became something better. Not out of vengeance, but purpose. And in that, I found something greater than triumph. Peace. If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever been overlooked by those who should have lifted you up? I didn't build Everlyn Labs just to win. I built it to prove that quiet strength outlasts loud entitlement. Subscribe to the channel and let's keep these stories alive. For every builder, dreamer, and underestimated soul still rising.